Mrs. Green Apple with the song number 7 from the album 12, if that's a lot of numbers being thrown around. Let's just see, is this track number 7? It is. I actually didn't check that beforehand, but I'm kind of glad and gratified to see this is actually track 7 from the album. This has been an interesting album so far. I've got to be honest with you. Listening through this, as I mentioned before, I really feel like it's kept that thing which Mrs. Green Apple is so good at, which is obviously good quality writing, good quality soundscaping and layering, but also having variation over the course of an album, this being their first full-length album. However, I'm also kind of feeling like we're hearing... in some ways, we are hearing the earlier iteration of the band in that I feel like maybe the more recent albums we've listened to have been a little bit tighter. So I'm intrigued. I feel like with each song I click on, I don't really know what I'm going to get. But anyway, number 7. Again, this is one of those ones with no music videos, so no idea what to expect this. I'm just going to go into it with a bit of an open mind. We just come out of a ballad, so hopefully we're going to get something interesting. Is it going to continue that kind of more chilled out aspect of the album, or are we going to come launching in with something that's going to turn the tone back a little bit faster and louder? Well, let's find out by pressing play. Oh, okay. There's your answer. Oh, loving that bass line. Yeah, this is funky. The guitars are rocking, but the bass is just bouncing nicely. A little bit of grit in the voice. There's a lot of rhythm going on in the vocals here. Bow bow. That's a nice chorus, I like that. Yeah, the bass in this is really standing out to me. I feel like a lot of this song is hanging around that bass in a really nice way. Octave? Yeah. That's a cool little inflection. Only halfway. This song has done a lot in 2.5 minutes. I'm really interested to know what he's got next. That's cool. Alright, keeping the momentum going. Oh, screeching guitar solo on one side. Piano's coming in a bit. Really hammering that rhythm. Okay, bass is going in a different direction there for a moment. There we go. Yeah, this is really all revolving around the bass. Yeah, we still got a minute left. Oh, this almost feels like a totally separate song at the end.
愛自信がない興味もない早く無知に気づけて昨日いない世界がほら出来上がる
Okay, interesting. How are they going to resolve this? Is it just going to finish like this? It is. Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. Another one of those ones that ends suddenly and I've got to stop it before the next track starts playing. This one, I really enjoyed this, but I definitely have quite a few things that I want to pick apart about this. Now, first things first, on its surface, this song plays out like some of the kind of colourful rocky songs that definitely inhabited those two mini albums that we heard prior to prior to this album. I got a little bit of a feeling, I could hear a little bit of the DNA that was in songs like Hour and a bit like Public as well. And it was kind of an upbeat song with a little bit of kind of, had those nice little sharp stop-start bits in there, little rhythm changes. It was very much a song that was moving along in that kind of tone, that kind of manner. And I really enjoyed this for the same reason that I enjoyed Hour and Public, which might actually still currently be my two favourite songs in this album thus far. I enjoyed this for a similar reason. And as much as I like Variation, this is a sound that they're nailing very much at this point in their career. We had that a lot with the again with those two mini albums prior, those two EPs, whatever you want to call them. They definitely had a similar vibe of being really good at these kind of punchy, fast, lively songs that are full of like little quick as I say, stop starts, little quick interjections, little quick changes. Just one instrument plays one little run or one little phrase that only appears once in the whole song. Those little colourful moments in these fast-moving songs, something that definitely seems to be a big part of the formative Mrs. Green Apple sound, and I personally love it. This song, however, has kind of, I would say, two big things going for it and one thing maybe going against it. Two and a half. Let's see how this works out. Let's do the mathematics after I finished. One thing in its favour, chorus was very strong. Not super complicated again, but that la 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 la. Can imagine that being great for audience interaction. And I did feel like it was it was earwormy, but not in an irritating way. This is the kind of chorus that I think, because you have like the crowd participation bit, and then you have like the lead singer call and answering with that. It doesn't get too repetitive. It's a long enough chorus phrase, and it's separated out enough by decent length verses and such like that it doesn't become too irritating. So I think the chorus is very strong in this. Actually, based on the chorus and just how strong this song is, for all but one thing, I think this could be a single. I definitely feel like this has got all, at this point in their career, I think this could well have been a single. It was just very, very catchy. The other thing going for it is, as I say, the bass is great. Now, I say this with a little bit of a caveat. I've always kind of felt like the bass lines in Mrs. Green Apple songs are pretty good. I really care about bass lines. Bass lines are one of those things where they're so quintessentially important to any song arrangement in the contemporary band sort of form. And there's so many bands out there who usually this is one of the things that one of the key factors that I find is so much more impressive about Japanese music than almost anywhere else in the world, is that you listen to most other countries in the world and you hear their rock music and the bass line is literally just the chord pattern, and it's so boring, and that really puts me off. So I've struggled, with a few exceptions, I struggled to listen to bands where the bass line doesn't do something of its own, where it's just sitting there literally arbitrarily pointing out the chords. So when I hear a song like this where the bass line is so interesting, it really piques my interest. Now, Mrs. Green Apple as a general, they do tend to have good bass lines, but it's not like one of the things that's like my foremost quality with them. The bass lines tend to be good, but usually pretty subtle, and just kind of fairly average, decent bass lines in amongst very interesting and usually lush and extremely creative songs, with a lot of keyboard work and a lot of other things layered together to create the final effect. However, this was a song that definitely, the bass line carried this. That had a great chorus, cool guitar lines and everything, but the bass line was so interesting, so creative, so much movement, so much variety, so much variation. But again, it was one of those bass lines that was not obtrusive. You know, it wasn't like when you get some bands where it goes too far the other way and it's all just like loud slapping. It's like, look, the bass line's the most important thing. It's like, no. Bass line is so interesting because it sits amongst all the other things. It's in the rhythm section between the drums and between all the other instruments. It's that connecting glue that holds the song together. So this is one of the reasons why it's so important, but it's usually a subtle thing, and I felt like this is one of those songs where to a casual listener you might not even notice how much the bass line is doing, but I would definitely say go listen to it. It barely repeats itself anywhere in the song. You know, it does a couple of little tricks, then it moves on, does another thing, and all the time beautifully holding the whole song together. So that was all great. So what is the one thing that I would maybe hold a little bit against it? Well, I want to give them some credit for creativity here, because anything where it's unexpected and unusual and it shows creativity, I'm all in for that. However, I got to be honest, that last minute where it went kind of slow tempo, there's a few songs I like that do that. I think that's a cool thing to do. I do think it's a cool thing. I don't think it worked in this song. And the reason I say that is because if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to have a big change and you're going to literally play the song out like that, it needs to go one of two ways. It either needs to be something where you slowed down to do like, to scale things up, because you slowed it down, because now we're going to go big impact and la 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 la. You just make it slower, but now more impactful, and everyone shout. In which case, just go loud. You know, have fucking trumpets coming, whatever. Timpanis, taiko drums, everything. Just go crazy. Make it loud, because the whole thing is you're slowing it down to give it more energy, so it has to come on with more punch. It didn't do that. It kind of just sort of slowed down and the rhythm changed, but it didn't feel like it scaled up. It's like, well, the other alternative is you can slow it down and literally then make it, everything break down and like, la, 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 chill it out. And then it's kind of like almost ending on like a final note that kind of caps it off in an interesting, unexpected way. You can do that too. In fact, I wish I could remember the name, but Mrs. Green Apple themselves have done that, but I think in a later song though. So I wonder if maybe they took a similar thing from this that I did. But for me, it just kind of felt like the song slowed down, and there was a rhythm change, but it wasn't really clear what I was supposed to get from it slowing down. It's like it didn't feel more grand. It didn't really feel like it added anything. It just kind of felt like it arbitrarily slowed down for that last minute. So for me, I want to give it 0.5 positive point for the fact that I like the fact this is the sort of band who would do that. There's a lot of bands who wouldn't even think to do that. I like that creativity, but I don't think it added anything to the song. I actually think it kind of detracted a little bit. I think it would have just been better to end at that point, just like 3.5 minutes, whatever, just end it at that point. That would have been fine by my reckoning. I imagine as well, this is probably something, I don't know if they still play this song live, but if they do, or if they did, this is one of those songs where maybe that ending bit would have worked live, because then you could just rely on the audience giving the extra energy, going, all right, this is what we slow it down, everyone sing, and then the audience would provide the energy. But on the recording, I don't think that last minute really worked for me. However, the rest of this song, like I say, it's in a very similar ilk. And I hate to kind of put all my favourite songs in a similar basket. That's not my usual thing to do. But I have to say, when we look at songs like Public, Hour, and Number 7, these are definitely playing on an area where it seems like Mrs. Green Apple are very strong. Yeah, a real strong suit of their ability, nailing that particular sound. And I personally really enjoyed them. I've got to be honest, I personally really enjoyed those songs. And Number 7, really enjoyed that as well. The last minute might be a little bit of a slow walk down for me. But, walk down from the high of what most of the song is. But I really enjoyed it. And also, I have to give credit, they had that little bridge in there as well, where just kind of everything went from being funky. Most of the song did have kind of a funky feel. I mentioned how, like, Amori's vocals are really cool. He had a lot of, like, fast little spitting kind of syllable deliveries where his vocals became quick and bounced over the rhythm, and I was like, that's really cool. We don't get to hear him do that enough, and it was really cool hearing him do that in this song. So you have little moments like that. The bass was funky, but in the bridge, everything just became a little bit more hammered in, and we built up attention, had a perfect ending, and then carried on for another minute. Anyway, there you go. As always, those are my thoughts. I really enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to the next one, because the next one is, again, it's as I mentioned when we started off this track by track listener, we got the rather interesting glory of the fact that even the singles on this, I have not seemingly seen them before or heard them before. So next one up, we do actually have a single. We're going to jump into that, and that'll be our next one. But we're getting through this album pretty quickly, aren't we? We're over halfway. Yeah, it's a 13-track album. We're over halfway now. Anyway, there you go. I really enjoyed this, as I say. But as always, get in the comments, tell me what you think, and until I hopefully see you very soon for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.